going to ask you like if you have any last thoughts, but I do have one thing because I know a few years ago we were talking about the elections in Pennsylvania, and the progressives, liberals, whatever, were really enthused about Fetterman, and you're the only person I know who wasn't. And I know Ryan Grimm gave you a shout out about this recently too. And so I know at the time you had these concerns about Fetterman. Do you kind of feel vindicated now? What we're seeing?
It's a sad thing to feel vindicated about.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not something to celebrate. I mean, it's to laugh to keep from crying. But the writing had been on. Look, I come from Braddock Hills area, which is a nice community right up above Braddock, up on the hill. A pretty middle class area, and in the Braddock Hills area, I knew many people from Braddock involved in that. I went to, I grew up like a mile and a half from Braddock. I knew many people in that community. And early on, when Fetterman came in as a trust fund kid, and he was elected mayor of Braddock, it's a small municipality of 2,000 people. So when he was elected mayor, it was like 300 people voted for him, right?
yeah,
And then he was a trust fund kid. So he was able to come in and say, well, I'm going to work every day, all day long. I'll be a full-time mayor. And then when he started bringing in nonprofit money, it was very clear that he wasn't going to work with the existing institutions, that he was going to create his own system, and anybody who didn't want to work with him would be cut out.
yeah,
So it was the writing on the wall was there locally about him. And then, 2013, UPMC is the largest employer in the state of Pennsylvania. The previous mayor of Pittsburgh, Luke Ravenstall, well, two previous ago, uh, he sued UPMC to get them to pay taxes, right? And the incoming mayor, Mayor Peduto, who's no longer mayor now, but Peduto dropped the lawsuit. So Fetterman, right, they closed a hospital in his community, which was a big employer, about 200 people. And also, it's very important to have a hospital in the community for lots of reasons.
yeah,
Um, they close it, and Fetterman takes to the pages of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and he says, we should never tax them. It'd be wrong to tax them, even though they're the biggest employer in Pennsylvania. And, their CEO is making, 20 million a year or something like that. So it was always very clear to me that he was an opportunist,
yeah,
and that he would go whatever way the wind was blowing. And I think, and even if you look at his more recent record, there's big issues about air pollution from US Steel in Pittsburgh, illegal exceedances. He's never once spoken up about it. He's called for fracking in Braddock. So yeah, you can play progressive, and that's what he did in 2016 when he was running, and you can dress in gym shorts and have tattoos, but that doesn't really mean much. And so I think, this information about him calling for tax breaks, to not tax the biggest employer in the state, to not say anything about pollution, to not say anything about fracking, it was always very clear to me that Fetterman was going to go with the moneyed interest when the chips were down. Sure, he might talk a good game about taxing the rich, but when there were real deep interests in a community that had serious political power, through my 12, 13 years of covering Fetterman, he's always gone with the institutional power players.
yeah.
Sure, you can say, oh yeah, Wall Street, Wall Street this, Wall Street that, but even look at this now. Not only has he been really bad on Gaza, but now he's come out against against Biden's emission rules.
No,
Him and Joe Manchin, right?
yeah,
So he's always been this guy. And, I think it's an exercise in branding and marketing that made so many people believe, because, oh, this guy, he's a shit talker. He swears, he
yeah,
says all kind of stuff, right? But if you look at his record, he always folds when he gets leaned on.
yeah. On running